What's going on, everyone? This is Sheena, aka Sheenapreneur, your favorite veteran. Today I wanted to talk a little bit about a question that I have been getting a lot, and that is about like veteran contracts, kinda. Like people have been asking me about if you're active duty or if you're a veteran or really active duty mostly, how can you bid on contracts? So we'll talk about it right after the intro. Hey everyone, welcome to my channel. Here on the Sheenapreneur channel, I share information about government contracting, veteran business content, and other business tips. Yeah, so I have been getting this question quite a bit. I only did maybe one video about veteran or active duty contracting. Actually, this will probably be more geared toward active duty and maybe like DoD civilians. So really, for those who don't know, I was on active duty when I started my company back in 2017. And then I became a DoD civilian. So I was like reserves and then a DoD civilian in 2020. Yeah, 2020. So I was on active duty when I started. I started with local contracting, not necessarily because I really cared about whether I could bid on contracts or not. That's where I won my first contract, was at the local level. And so throughout that time when I first started, I did ask agencies, I asked the PTAC, which is now known as the Apex Accelerators, just various people. Even I contacted an attorney who did like a consult about, and they were supposed to be familiar with government contracting. That didn't end up working out. But anyway, I asked about whether you could be on active duty or even be in the military, even as a reservist, and bid on contracts. And I never really fully got my answer. So I guess it is kind of important for people to know when you're active duty or reservist or even National Guard or DoD civilian, can you bid on contracts? So the answer is yes, you can. So there was one person at the PTAC who told me, the I guess agencies or the way the federal government is working now, they understand that you can't just not bid on anything federal just because you might be a reservist or a DoD civilian, or even still if you're active duty transitioning out, it's not fair to not be able to bid on contracts. So the short answer is yes, but Sheena, how? I'm sure that's the question. Let's just start with active duty, for example. If you are active duty and say you are in the last few years of your contract or you're retiring or whatever the case may be, and you want to start your business and you're able to find a contract that is suitable for you, you can go after that contract. Now, I will say, if you're a service member, Army, Navy, whatever, you work for the Department of Defense. So I wouldn't go toward Department of Defense contracts. I wouldn't go after Department of Defense, Homeland Security, Department of the Navy, Department of the Army, whatever, all the other departments that are associated with Department of Defense. I wouldn't personally go after those because it just seems like the lines could be a little blurred. Especially if you're in the Army and you go after a Department of the Army contract. But really the premise is that you cannot give yourself a contract, basically. So if it looks like you have had a leg up or you are in cahoots with someone that you work with that can potentially give you the contract, that's what the that's what the federal government is worried about. Is worried that you're gonna give yourself your own contract and you are basically like colluding, if you will, in order to get this contract, and it's not fair and open, or at least set aside for a veteran-owned company. If it's for a veteran-owned company, or even if it's for anyone else, it shows like you were able to get this contract without going through the process that everyone else has to go through. So another thing is being a reservist. So this was kind of interesting because it falls along the same lines as being a veteran, but also being, like active duty, if you will. So if you are a veteran and you've been out of the military for forever, chances are there's probably not going to be any type of inhibitions or any restrictions when it comes to bidding on a contract, even for the Department of Defense, unless it just looks like you got a leg up in the contract or in the solicitation, or you had someone to assist you. But if you've been out of the military for a long time, for example, then that should be just fine. It doesn't look like you were given any special privileges. Now, on the flip side of that, say you do have a friend who's still in the military, you retired 5 years ago and your best friend is a colonel, or even a general officer, and they're able to give you a contract, that's not necessarily a bad thing. That's what a lot of people actually do. Now, you do have to read the FAR and see what the specifics are, but as far as I know, and really I'm concerned, is that's how most people do it. It's all about building relationships. If you have a relationship with someone, as long as that person is covering their base, that general officer or whomever is covering their base to ensure that they're going through the process to get the 2 or 3 quotes or whatever the case may be, and they can verify that you are the most suitable for this opportunity, then you should be fine. So the other one is going to be if you are a reservist and you are a DoD civilian, like a GS employee. This was the one that kind of confused me the most. For those who say you were active duty and then you went reserve, but even if you're active reserve, you are still able to be a veteran if you went ahead and applied for your either your VOSB or your SD VOSB, whether you're a veteran-owned small business or a service-disabled veteran-owned small business. You can still serve on active duty if you had like a break in service or you actually came out of the military for a period of time and went back in, whatever the case may be. You could still be considered a veteran while you're on active duty. So however you came to that designation, if you're a veteran, whether you're on active duty or not, and you're a reservist, and whether you're active reservist or you're just doing your 1 week in a month, 2 weeks out of the year, or National Guard, same thing, and you are a GS employee. The problem with that is, this is the same for me. I was a reservist, I was a DoD civilian, a GS employee, and I already had my SDVOSB, my Service Disabled Veteran Owned Small Business Certification. I already had it. So it was time for me to renew it. It was after the 3 years, renew it. And when I went to get the certification the first time, I was not a DoD civilian. I was not a GS employee. So now that I am, 3 years later, I had to sign like a waiver or some sort of document when I went to renew, and it was through VetBiz at the time. So VetBiz was another portal on the VA website in order to get your veteran-owned certification. Now it's all on the SBA website. So if what I'm about to say has actually changed, I wouldn't know because I haven't even renewed mine since it's been on the SBA website. So nonetheless, when it was time for me to register or redo my certification, they have to get updates, they have to do all these things, and you'll have like a counselor type, not even a counselor, but almost like an account manager that's going to verify your documents, ask you questions, and basically look up you and your company to see if anything looks out of pocket, I guess, to make sure that you're not doing anything crazy in order to get approved. So what was asked to me was if I think I had to provide whatever I had to provide, maybe it was my taxes or something, showed that I was a civilian employee. I can't remember exactly what, maybe my pay stubs, something like that. I don't know. And I was asked, since you have this, you already had the Service Disabled Veteran Owned certification, and now you are going to reapply for the Service Disabled Veteran Owned certification, you cannot bid on any SD, VOSB set-aside contracts as a civilian. Now, it's in the FAR. I'm not going to sit here and tell you which FAR it is. I don't remember. You got to look it up. But that was weird to me because I didn't understand why that specific part mattered about me being a civilian. Whereas if I was on active duty, when I applied for the certification originally, ain't nobody asked me that. And I don't even know if it's in the FAR. It wasn't mentioned. They did a very thorough job, so I don't even think it had anything to do with that. But me being a reservist and then being a GS employee, there was a clause in the FAR that said I could not bid on SD VOSB contracts. Now, I'm not sure if it's the same thing for VOSB. Pretty sure it probably is, because as a veteran and the certification is just kind of the same, so I'm not 100% sure if that is the case, but the only thing I saw was SDVOSB because that's what I was. So for those who have asked, those who are on active duty and you have your veteran status, whether you went through the VA or whatever the case may be, then you are, as far as I know, okay, and always look at the FAR, as far as I know, you are able to bid on SDVOSB contracts. So you can get the certification still, but you're not allowed to bid on SDVOSB as a reservist who is a GS employee. So I just want to kind of clear that up. I hope that made sense. Essentially, yes, you can bid on contracts as long as you're not giving yourself a contract, or it doesn't look like you were given special privileges and that the person didn't do their due diligence, especially when it's, well, exclusively if it's over a micro purchase amount. They have certain parameters that they have to follow. The contracting officer has certain parameters they have to follow. So as long as it doesn't look shady, you know what shady looks like. You know what I'm saying? Like, if it looks like that, and it's not just like, oh, you have a relationship and you know you're still good for the job, then, you know, that's where you're gonna run into trouble. And it's not my color. Well, I got my orange. Well, these aren't orange, these like peach. Orange jumpsuits is not my thing. So that's basically what I'm saying. So yes, you can, as long as you have your designation. Now, a greater question would be, can you go after regular contract, like a fair and open, which you probably honestly wouldn't get a fair and open unless you're the only person that can do that thing, or a total small business or something like that. You may be able to get a contract with no issues. Again, just making sure you don't give yourself a contract. And also, like, just think about all the other, like, if you don't want to go after DOD, there's so many other agencies like USDA, Department of Treasury, for example, NOAA. There's so many other agencies you can go after that have nothing to do with the Department of Defense. Yes, go after those. I'd rather you at least go after those and then be told no than to just not start at all. So just, you know, it's the end of 2023, so we're trying to get ready for 2024. For those who have not already started thinking about 2024, you absolutely need to do that. This is what, 2 days after Christmas, so this is December, oh Lord, my watch is dead. December 28th, let me make sure. Hold on, December 27th. So it's important for you to have all your goals at least like jotted down for 2024, because we're tired of the excuses, right? We're tired of, I'm gonna do it this year, I'm gonna do it this year. Don't be the people who are in my DMs saying, oh, I should have started with you 3 years ago. Start now. Just start looking at the verbiage, reading the verbiage, finding out what works for you, and targeting agencies that you might want to work with. It doesn't have to be on sam.gov. It can be on a local website doing local contracting. Just get started with something. So of course, I have my course that teaches you about federal contracting, local contracting, and corporate contracting. And also we have a circle community group where it's growing, y'all. It's like, I think we're probably at close to 300 people now. And there's a lot of exchange, a lot of business deals being done in there. It's like, the group is beyond me now. So it's like, it's amazing to have so many connections that are going on within the group, and people who are like starting to partner and work together. I'm gonna leave the link in the description for that. I'm gonna leave the link in the description for the course. Just make sure that you are making changes for yourself in 2024. And to all my veterans, you know, it's your favorite veteran, and I will see you in the next video.